We are so happy to have you all here today. I'm going to turn you over to Milia, our Executive Director, who's going to welcome us all. Milia.
All right. Can everyone can hear me and we're all good with, okay, very good. Well, thank you so much on behalf of the South Coast Interfaith Council. Thank you for being here with us this afternoon for this really special program. While we were organizing this, I have to thank definitely Sarah Dean and Patty Heckman and Cheryl Benz, who took the lead in organizing this. And of course, our esteemed guest who I'll speak about in just a moment. But thank you so much for this. And I think the mere fact that we had, 53 people sign up within 1 to 2 days, I think, since I sent out the constant contact is indicative of how much we need something like this. So thank you so much for being here today. And, for all of us, it's been such a challenging year for a number of reasons. It hasn't been the year that many of us anticipated when we looked ahead in 2019. But yet here we are. And so as a council, one of the things that we really firmly believe in is the wisdom that lies in all of our faith traditions. As an interfaith council, we pride ourselves in offering a space where people can come together and learn from one another, particularly about the spiritual teachings and the teachings that unite us as an interfaith community. So to that end, we're really blessed to have with us today Chief Ramos and Sister Tina, who will share some wisdom with us today from their Native American faith traditions. So before they start, if you'll allow me, I'd like to take a few minutes just to give a brief introduction to who these two very beautiful people are. Sister Tina is of the Gabrielino, Tonva, and Ventureno Chumash nations. She's a singer, she's a songwriter, a storyteller, and a culture keeper, as well as a mom, grandmother, and a K2 learning coach. It's interesting, when we had meetings with her before, she would also always tell us she's also an elder in the training. So I'm sure we'll learn about that as well. She loves to share her culture and family history in remembrance and honor of her ancestors and the original inhabitants of the sacred lands. We also have with us Chief Daniel Ramos, who has been part of the council for quite a few many years now. So we're so grateful to continue that friendship with him. He's the Chief Spiritual Elder of the Choctaw Muskogee Yemenese Nation. And please forgive me if I'm butchering these in any way. I know we tried them before as well. He's a grandfather, uncle of the prophecy of the warrior of the rainbow tribe, of the 4 directions and 4 sacred elements of life. He's actually also a social worker by trade with over 40 years of experience in various fields and served almost 20 of these years as a public servant with the Los Angeles County Department of Probation, Department of Children and Family Services, and the State of California's Department of Corrections and Parole Division. So he has certainly been a servant of the people throughout his whole life, and it's reflected in who he is as well. Among many things, as a spiritual leader, he advocates and teaches and emphasizes the white buffalo prophecy of the great healing, the mending of the sacred hoop of our world and ourselves in this cosmic time through what's called the sacred feminine. And I have no doubt that he will speak on that as well. So I hope you'll join me in welcoming them to the extent that we can while we're on Zoom, our 2 guests today, Sister Tina and Chief Ramos. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Milia, for that great welcome. And yes, let's just go right into it then. We're all here and waiting for the marvelous teachings, the gift of the teachings that we're about to receive. So I would like to invite then Sister Tina to join us and start with her teachings. Thank you.
Mi'iha Nahinkum, hello relatives. I am very honored to be here amongst you all. And I was asked to start with a land acknowledgement. So if I may, I would like to honor my tribal relatives, past and present, the traditional caretakers of Tobanga, from San Fernando Valley, all the way down to Laguna Beach, east along the Santa Ana River to Corona and Riverside, and back along the foothills, as well as the 4 Southern Channel Islands, Santa Catalina, Santa Barbara, San Nicolas, and San Clemente. Across our large unceded territory, we continue our efforts to protect our lands, our waters, our plant and animal relatives. And we say, Yarar komokre hanuk betam, we remember the ancestors. Awesh kondreha ahihirom koi hayanayanar, we thank our elders and our teachers. Karunakre eotarham, we stand with our children, both present and the 7 generations to come. So let us remember to walk gently upon our Earth Mother and to give her the love and respect that she deserves. Let us unlearn the selfish and harmful ways and relearn to lead with love, compassion, inclusion, and reciprocity. Let us respect one another and celebrate our differences. I ask for blessings for each and every one of you. And again, I thank you for inviting me to be here. A special thank you to Emilia, Patty, and Sarah for taking the time to get to know us first. I appreciate that, as it's so important to create these relationships and not just share history, but share from our hearts. So I did prepare a presentation, and I'm going to go ahead and share screen with y'all so you can see what I have put together for you. Okay, I'll do this as a slideshow to make it bigger. Okay, so I entitled it Eoharin Ha Tokuraut, which means our existence is beautiful. And one thing you'll realize about us is that we had lost our language, but we actually just say it went to sleep because we are in the process of reviving it. And so this language that I'm sharing with you today is Tongva, because most of you are upon Tongva lands today. I am also learning my Chumash language, the dialect of Shmuich, which comes from Santa Barbara. And so we'll get started with this. So first, how did we come to be here? Many people try to tell us our history and our stories, and they try to tell us that we came through the Bering Straits, but our creation stories put us right here in these lands. So we say Creator allowed us to be born in these lands and of these lands. We have our creation stories that connect us to the stars, to the waters, and to the lands. And we've been given instructions on how to live in harmony with our relatives, the lands, the waters, the stones and mountains, the standing tall nation, the plant life and medicines, the four-legged, the winged, the swimmers and the crawlers. None of these should be harmed, and not one single one should dominate. Our teachings, our way of life, our language, our songs and ceremonies, they would go to sleep with the dominating wave that came from Europe. We would lose the right to live in our traditional territories. We would be stripped of our dignity and forced into a new way of being. Survival took on a whole new meaning as we were taught the destructive and selfish ways. Kill the Indian, save the man. That was the mantra that was said over and over again. But we are seeds of existence. So like the seeds of our green nation that not only survive the fire, they come back renewed, healthy, and free of trauma. Our nation too could not be extinguished. We are still here. The prophecy spoken throughout America is that when we will rise as great nations once again, and our teachings of respect and reciprocity will be taught to our kulyam, which are guests who have now become our family. If you live upon these lands, if you bury your dead here in our sacred soils, then these have become your lands. Your roots are taking hold, And so it becomes your responsibility to help us to protect our Earth Mother and our waters that run through her veins. Eyohunhoam, our braid. So as we started talking the other day on Zoom, and we started sharing a little bit about our cultures, I immediately got this vision of braiding. I just kept seeing these strands interweaving. And so I wanted to express that we are all individuals with unique personalities, ideas, talents, strengths, and weaknesses. We come to this realm to experience, to learn, and to grow. Within our worldly experience, we interact with others, share sacred time and space, and create heart connections. It is divine spirit that puts the right souls in our path so that we can share and learn from one another. It's like a beautiful braid. We are each individual strands that neatly converge and intertwine to produce beauty. And so what I'm sharing here is a braid of dog bane that I was working on at our ceremony this weekend with my Shumash relatives, and our baskets that also take the weavings and the prayers and become useful, beautiful elements. Go to the next screen. So mahach, that is our word to give to or to exchange. It's the word that we use today as reciprocity. Our teachings are to always give before taking. No matter what is desired, no matter who or what we'll be receiving that gift from, there's always prayer first. We offer a gift from the heart. It could be food, water, medicine, songs, and or necessities. We always need to state our intentions, and then we wait for that gift to come to us in a good way, never taking too much, never wasting. There must always be a willing exchange. We accept our gifts in gratitude and give thanks. The best way to express gratitude is to share with others. Those are our teachings. So my gift to you today is to share a poem that I wrote, and it's meant to inspire us to do good, to stand in our power no matter what anger, hurt, or greed surrounds us. We alone are responsible for our actions, and we alone must find the strength to stop reacting to actions that are beyond our control. So my poem, I was written just this year, May 20th, is called React No More. And what inspired me to create this poem was our own tribal relatives that have been hurt to the point where they're very, very angry and they want to hurt one another. And so it's so important for us to learn to not just react to that, to just stand in our power and to do the good works that our heart calls us to do. So it starts like this. Tall, strong, and mighty, I stand like an oak tree, branches soaking up the sun's energy. Your hateful words don't faze me. A promise I made to myself, react no more. You can't shake me. Love flows from my core. Sacred water in my veins, my roots are so deep, bearing and sharing relevance, joyful tears of gratitude I weep. A promise I made to myself, react no more. You can't shake me. Love flows from my core. If you choose to spew hate, that's your burden to bear. I choose to reject it. My choice is to emit loving care. A promise I made to myself, react no more. You can't shake me. Love flows from my core. You see, love conquers all. Love overpowers hate. Love shows in many forms. Love is the bright path I take. A promise I made to myself, react no more. You can't shake me. Love flows from my core. Very short, huh? So I want to just thank you. And in my two languages, Aweshkwaneha is Tongva, Kakinalin is Chumash, and both of them mean thank you. And this, I'm showing two pictures. On the top right is our sacred sage that we cleanse ourselves with. And again, we only choose to take with reciprocity, offering water and medicines and only taking what we need. And on the left, we have our beautiful flicker bird, which is one of our medicine birds. And so I ask for blessings to you all. Thank you so much for allowing me to share.
So beautiful. Oh my gosh, Sister Tina, thank you for that wonderful gift of your teaching. So powerful and so beautiful. And yes, I do remember our conversation when we started this program, and we did have a conversation how we were going to shape the program. And it came to our attention that we absolutely must have acknowledgement of the land. And only, you know, yourself who has lived in a way that honors the land and understands the land as sacred. And also, like Chief Daniel, we thought only the two of you could really bring that to us in a way that we, you know, could properly honor it. So I thank you for the acknowledgement of the land, and I thank you for your teachings. I just want to say also that, you know, despite the injustices that have occurred, you know, against the Indigenous people, you've never shut your heart, you know, and you're always, to me, what I see is you're always giving back to the land. There is that reciprocity, there is that gratitude, there is a full relationship. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for sharing that with us. So good afternoon, everyone, again. You are part of Native Wisdom program, and we're about to go into the interactive part. But first, I want to explain what we're going to do in the interactive part, and also unveil the questions that you will be discussing. And also, just to give you an idea of the whole program, which I didn't do at the beginning. After the interactive part, we're going to come back together as a whole group, and we're going to, you know, have a little sharing time, meaning what happened in the breakout rooms with the interactive part. If one person could take notes or whatever, so that one person from each group could share with us what happened in your discussion in your group. And that will go on right after the breakout sessions. And then we're going to, you know, ask Sister Tina to comment, if she is willing to do that again, on what was said during the sharing time. And then we're also going to be, you know, honored by Chief Daniel Ramos, who is here with us today as well. And he's going to, you know, wrap everything up for us and give us the final blessing, if you will. So the interactive part, let me talk about that. So the themes for today, and Sister Tina hit on them, you know, were reciprocity, love, relationships, gratitude. So our questions are based on that as well. We got together, put our heads together and tried to figure out, you know, what questions we could use to really delve deeper into Sister Tina's teachings and engrave them in our hearts. So I want to put up on my screen the two questions. Okay, can everyone see that? Okay, great. So the first question is, in the act of forgiveness, within the practice of one's faith, what is at stake if we cannot forgive the unforgivable? So that's something to ponder. Forgiveness is part of our, the way that I feel that we become those spiritual beings, and that we transcend, the negative and the things that were dealt against us. Number 2, we have just received the gift of Sister Tina's teachings and acknowledgement of the land. Talk about a gift that you have received recently. It can be a tangible gift or an intangible gift. And when we say intangible, we usually think of a spiritual gift. How did you acknowledge, share, or show appreciation for that gift? Okay, so those are the 2. And when you get into your groups, the facilitators will go over those questions as well. So you don't have to memorize them. And also the facilitators can, each group can decide if you want to answer both questions or if you want to just concentrate on one question. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and split everybody up into groups. We are honored today again to have Chief Ramos and Sister Tina be 2 of our facilitators. So thank you very much. Another 2 are our very own Executive Director, Milia, and our President, Sarah, will be 2 more facilitators. Thank you. And Cheryl Benz, our Administrator, will be another facilitator. And then board members that will be facilitators. We have a lot of facilitators today. So then board members that will be facilitators include Carol and Marietta and Steve, Pastor Steve.
Patty, may I
Yes.
interject real quickly? I know, we're so blessed to have both Chief Ramos as well as Sister Tina here. And I know that we have a little bit of time. We're a little bit ahead of time than what we'd imagined in terms of.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
So I wondered if I could ask, I know the first question was something that was really, it came from Chief Ramos' heart, this notion of, how to forgive the unforgivable. And that's something that's really, I mean, that's not an easy question. And I guess I just, I would love to hear just from Chief Ramos for just a little bit before we start in our breakout session. What does that mean to you when you said that let's have this question, what is at stake when we cannot forgive the unforgivable from your spiritual tradition, from the tradition of the people of the land? What does that mean? And, what can we learn from that? I would love, if that's okay, I would love to hear a little bit from you and then go into our breakout sessions as well.
You can just go ahead and thank you, Chief.
Okay. Thank you very much. And first, I have to share how grateful, with so much love and gratitude for, I call her Auntie Sister Tina, for the beautiful teachings, the sharings that are familial within her people's culture and ways, and to bring them out. Many of us, I'm sure, and thank you so very much. I was so looking forward, and it's a beautiful presentation, and the language was just, oh my goodness, thank you so much. My heart just says we all have to learn these languages from each other, So greatly appreciated, and the poem just set the stage. So beautifully done. If I can now, I'll move to the question. I'm Choctaw Muskogee Yamasee Nation here. We're 3-tribe nation from the 4 directions, culminating of people who live and seek the ways of the Red Road, the spiritual principles of the universe. And I have to say, the reflection of the teachings that were shared with us are reflections of the laws of the universe that have been given to us. as to how we live in harmony amongst ourselves. And so, in every grouping, you see the medicine wheel that I'm wearing. I was given that in a dream, and was told this is what I'm supposed to do. But the 4 races of man, which this depicts, shows us that each group received the original laws, original formulas of how it is that we live in our environment upon Mother Earth, wherever it is that we've been scattered to. And the prophecy of the medicine wheel is when the 4 races of man from the 4 directions come together in the circle of life, we then, in a loving and a gentle way, share these teachings with one another. And we begin to learn them from each other, that we will then restore peace and harmony in our world. Chief Phil Lane from the Lakota people shares that today we are all the living prophecies of all the nations. And so as one of the things that we're all doing as sacred groups coming together, sacred circles coming together from different nations, many of us are part this and part that and part this and part that, aren't we? We're part Cherokee and part Irish. Yeah, we're many nations people today. Yeah, and part of that is that we battle the 2 wolves within. So we haven't come to that place. Many of us we have come to that settling place of peace and harmony within. And until we get to our own United Nations of peace and harmony, how can we expect the United Nations of the world to come together in peace and harmony and bring and restore our world in that place? So of the many things, atrocities, crimes, things that we've done to each other as nations, as cultures, as peoples, as families, to one another. These are things that we must move forward to forgive, because we're in the place of healing, are we not? Is this not the time of the great healing in our world? This is what's occurring with what's happening. It's the great awakening that we're experiencing here. And for those who are willing, who surrender to awakening of a higher self, of a greater frequency, a vibration of understanding that we are spiritual beings having the human experience, and come forward between the duality and become the one again, then this is where we're at. And there can't be a healing without forgiveness. And there can't be a physical healing without a spiritual healing occurring first. And some of us are pretty good at being able to forgive others in some ways, but there's always usually something that we hang on to that says, we can't forgive that. Your people did this to our people. And intergenerational trauma has a name. It flows through our DNA. And I love the beautiful teaching that Auntie Sister shared, is that we die and we come, when we come back as a flower, we come back renewed without that trauma. Oh, rebirthing, beautiful. But what I have found is in my own life, in my own earth walk, is that when I am able to surrender and to release and forgive whatever it is that needs to be forgiven, all the heart's desires of what we are here to do and be in this world, to bring this world back to restoration, renewing, rebirthing of peace and harmony, the universe releases all the gifts that we need to carry this purpose, to carry our being forward. Think of the energy it takes to hang on to this resentment, the anger, the energy it takes to hang on to this, something that's buried so deep, something that occurred to us. Many of us, some of us grew up in different places. We may have not had all complete happy childhoods. People were molested. We've been beaten. We've suffered and struggled through things, and we're still here. But we hang on to that. And if we can release that energy back into the universe, and let it decimate. We open ourselves like the lotus flower. We open ourselves like the great sky people. And we allow the energy of the cosmic source, creator, Husan, Takashala, Wankatanka, God, source, to bring through us again the gifts that we need to help others and walk with others. This is the time of mending the sacred hoop that has been broken for almost 500 years. And we are part of that sacred hoop. We're the healing of that hoop. And we can't be the healing of that hoop until we can forgive the unforgivable. What's at stake is that we're delaying the timing of this world coming full circle and restoring ourselves to peace and harmony. Instead of waiting decades, we could do this in a momentous moment if we were all able to release, let go, shed this outer shell, and come forward with a pure heart of love, unconditional. And this was spoken in these teachings. This is what we're here all to do. This is a divine appointment today. All of you relatives that are on here, this is not an accident or coincidence. We all know this. This is a divine appointment. I'm only a messenger. I'm a humble elder, just with a title. But I'm just a humble elder with a title that just says, the time of the prophecies of the white buffalo people speak that it's time to forgive the unforgivable, and the way our world will heal will be through the sacred feminine is another of the prophecy. The female, the life giver, the ones who love beyond themselves, beyond the universe is how a woman loves. Us men know this. We know how hard woman loves, how deep. And we have the female within us that we're reconciling with today, so that as the male energy and the sacred feminine together can walk as the twin flame, the sacred twin flame time now is then that time where we have the power to bring forward forgiveness within ourselves first. And sometimes that's the hardest to forgive. And so with that, it's one of those beautiful things that we must go through, struggle with. Struggle is there. Suffering's an option. But what we have available to us is unity. To unite our hearts as one heart. To unite our loves as one love. To become the one breath, the one flame, the one dance, the one song, the one drum, the one rattle, and come together in the circle and be in our respected place, our birthright. We've been chosen to be present, and the mending of the sacred hoop is occurring now in our world. We're a part of many groups like us, light warriors, peace warriors, enlightened ones. We're all put together from many different walks. There are many paths to the top of the mountain. But when we get there, we join together. We join together like at the top of Mount Baldy when the Thuriya Society goes out and they climb that mountain and they send that love, boom, out into the world. And we're all a part of that. The Navajo have a saying, you cannot wake up anyone who's pretending to be asleep. So one of the things that we must know is that we are not going to be able to wake up everybody. But it's been told, we don't need everybody awake to bring this about. We only need, according to those who have put it in writing, 1% of the 7.8 billion people on this planet, which is like 8,872 people, something like that. And I know there's more than that around. So we know that our frequency from the divine being that lives within this earthly shell emanates a powerful vibration. If we leave this room today, tomorrow, there are instruments that could measure this Zoom room, and you will find that the energy in this Zoom room tomorrow will be even greater than it is today. This exists, and we are part of it. We all are teachers, our great teachers have come and gone, but they have left us with these teachings. And all those teachings say, love is the power that conquers all. We grew up with that, we've known that, and we must shed our differences. We must join together and mend the sacred hoop. It's our duty. We have a birthright to live in the new world that's filled with peace, filled with harmony, filled with song, filled with dance. Our grandchildren and their grandchildren and their grandchildren for 7 generations forward. The 7 generations behind us prayed this prayer that we would come together today in this moment of the cosmic to have this conversation, to share a heart in a good way with joy, with hard love. In the sweat lodge I was in, the end of that was done by a woman of Sundance as Auntie Sister, her special sacred walk. And came out of there was the hottest one I've ever experienced. And she said, it is time to pray harder, to dance harder, and to sing harder. Now we must forgive harder. I'm hoping that this will be enough to kind of start the conversation if that's the case. Dear Sister Amelia, if you need more, I can go on. You can tell.
No, there's so much wisdom in what you're saying, and I want to be respectful of the time. And Patty, you tell me. I take my direction will be taken from you. But Chief Ramos, everything that you said is so powerful, and it makes sense. But then I keep thinking, going back to this thing of, one of the things that allows people maybe perhaps not to be able to forgive is a sense of anger, right? Anger and hurt. Now, I wish that you could be in my house every day saying this every single day from the moment I get up to the moment I go to sleep, because it would provide me a path to know that this is what I need to do. For those of us who don't have the gift of you being with us every day, what, I guess you said it, perhaps this is one of the things: pray harder, sing harder, forgive harder. But I guess, I don't know, maybe my fellow colleagues perhaps share this, and maybe this is what we'll discuss in our groups, but especially the Native American people who've been through so much, and so much injustice has been bestowed upon you. And with that, to have this sense of still forgiveness, I guess where does that come from? And how can we borrow that, and just can you put it in a pill form so I can take it in the morning? And because I think that's something, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, but how do we do that? We just consistently keep on praying to forgive?
I have found in this very humble walk, continuing, that one of the tools that I've been taught by my elders is that to surrender that anger, surrender whatever it is that's not serving your purpose, surrender to something that is greater than yourself, because that's why you're here. We may be here for some earthly purposes, but we've been brought in this divine moment of time around all of Mother Earth. Every human being has been brought in this cosmic time in the divine appointment for the great healing that's to occur. And if you come to a place, not only just as part of believing, because that's part of faith, but somewhere in the walk, you get up in the morning and you give thanks for the first breath of life from the dream time, and something happens. And it's not just the belief. The gift of knowing becomes a part of you. You know that in your lifetime, this will happen. Every cell within you knows that this will occur, and you have a duty and responsibility to fulfill that part of what it is you've been here to bring. So letting go of anger and resentments, other things, you know, to the plants behind you, you know, the light form within you, animate and inanimate objects. This part of the teaching, isn't it, Auntie Tina? You know, is that everything that every living being and every breathing thing, you know, animate or inanimate, has a cellular structure that we're connected to. We have a relationship with the four sacred elements of life. And we're all water people. We're mostly water than anything. Mostly water versus tribes, nations, cultures, or whatever. We're mostly all water. And water is the sacred feminine of four sacred elements, like Mother Earth. So if we get into that place where the water flows and lets go, you know, that's what we need to do. We have ceremonies. Sometimes we put all our anger and resentments in a stone people, and we take it down to the river and we drop it into the river. There you go. We have worry dolls from South America. Put all our worries in, and we put them aside so that we no longer we have these beautiful things. Life is ceremony, and so with that we have the opportunity to seek the path and seek the elders. We sometimes we don't have the opportunity to have the elders in our local community, but what's the beautiful thing about today, about this gathering, is that as we all move with the unseen, it is the unseen that has brought us to become seen. We call it technology. Creator calls it cosmology. And here we are. We keep praying to see the unseen. Guess what? We're looking at each other. And because it's through an unseen source. And it's infinite. So you know, when we aspire to move in the direction of the higher self, to lay down our prayers, to humbly crawl into sweat lodges or other ceremonial things of our own faith walks, when we come to those places, whether it's our temples or other edifices whatsoever, and we come together as family and local community, our children today, they're called the Blue Star Children by all the elder councils across Turtle Island. The Gila River elder, Pete Jackson, spoke this several years ago as I heard him speak to a crowd of 150 children and their parents. And he said, these are the Blue Star Children. We all know them. Because you as parents and grandparents and great-grandparents that are still here have been working so hard to bring about a new world. And these are the children we all know, not just believe, who will live in this new world in their lifetime. And some of you will still be here. This elder, he understands his ways from his people. But these are our ways. The laws of the universe speak. We're all common. We're all from the same seed. We should be laughing. We should be smiling. We should be singing. We should be dancing, raising our immune systems rather than a period of compromised immune systems, taking the natural herbal things, swinging around a little bit. I go earth when I turn around. I'm potentially turn Mother Earth way. But if you're Tongva or Chumash or Pawnee or Aztec or Maya, you go the way of the stars, counterclockwise, right? Whatever way it is, we're moving with the cosmic energy of all the universe. And we become the one. Lose the self and become the oneness of ourselves. Ho, takyas.
Thank you so much, Teddy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know I interrupted, so I'm gonna not say anything anymore. And
No, that's wonderful. Thank you, Milia, because I think you spoke what you know, the kinds of misgivings or the second thoughts that all of us were having with that question. So thank you. And Chief Daniel, thank you so much for giving us that very, very deep explanation. I feel like you gave us an entryway to dive into that question, you know, in a much different way, coming at it from many different angles to tackle it. So thank you very much. So yes, so we're just a few minutes behind, not at all behind, Milia. So thank you again. Doesn't everyone feel more prepared to do this now? Yes, okay, great. So I'm going to do the automatic breakout rooms. Facilitators, I'm going to have to probably move you around maybe 2 or 3 times so that there's only one facilitator per group, okay? So understand if you're jumping, if I'm doing musical chairs with you, that's what the goal is. Okay, thank you. Here we go. So we actually have 8 facilitators, so we're going to do 8 groups, which will be a nice small group of 3 or 4 people. Okay.
And Patty, the questions, I just posted them in the chat so people have them.
Thank you very much. Back. I can see from your faces that something transformative happened in the groups. So I can't wait to hear everyone share, you know, what your group did with the discussion questions. So does every group have someone to share? Yes. Oh, great. Okay. We're going to start at the end. Let's start with Chief Ramos's group. Chief Ramos, you had 3 people, I believe, in your group. Would someone like to share from your group? Oh, yourself. You're going to share. Okay. Thank you.
No, no, I was just going to let you know, Miss Nancy is going to do that. And there were
Okay.
two other people in our group. So
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
Miss Nancy, you're on.
Oh boy, this is off the top of my head and from my heart, put it that way. I came into this whole session just as the chief was talking about water and Mother Ocean. And I shared with him that I'm a tall ship sailor and that I'd like to get other people involved with being on the ocean together on a sailing ship. And we talked about how sacred Mother Ocean is. And we are the bridge builders. I mentioned the phrase, let the sea be our bridge. The chief mentioned that we come to each other knowing and then flowing and then glowing. That was cool. He also mentioned that water is life, and I certainly see that. The other person in our group also talked about the importance of forgiveness. And the chief talked about how our spirits suffer if we don't forgive, that healing is in the physical and the spiritual. And I'm really encouraged that I got in on this part of the discussion, because it's so important to me that we're not just wayfarers, but that we're also seafarers, that the ocean is we are interconnected both physically and spiritually by the waters, and that water is life. And I'm gonna put together a South Coast Interfaith Council tall ship sail as soon as we can get a group on board our ships. Maybe we can fill both ships and sail together.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. That was wonderful. I
Thank
knew
you.
that there would be a lot of symbolism and parables coming up. That's just what happens with Indigenous teachings. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Okay, we're going to move on. We only have, 15 minutes for this session. So if you could keep your reflections to 1 minute or 1.5 minutes, that would be great. So next, Sarah Dean's group. If we could hear from you.
Sure. I got to meet Adrian Adelsberger's mom today, which is really fun for me. But we had people share how they felt that the act of forgiveness is not for ourselves. It's not for the other person, but for our own selves. And otherwise it's a burden that we are carrying with ourselves. And someone else added to that, that when they hold on to the anger, they can feel a separation between themselves and the source. And then towards the end, we really did touch on the fact that sometimes it's not always easy. And that's kind of where we were.
Yeah, it sounds like you really spoke the truth there. Thank you for that sharing. Wonderful. Next, we're going to hear, please, from Marietta's group.
And that's Norman, who's going to share some notes from our discussion.
Okay, welcome, Norman.
You need to unmute yourself, Norman. We can't hear you.
Norman, you need to unmute yourself. There we go.
I got it. Thank you. But we felt very united in our spirits because we all were so impressed with Chief Ramos. He spoke to the heart and he gave us inspiration to share what we had in our hearts. And Marietta gave us the foundation, how we have to respect for each other. So we started in. And I started and remembered a quote from the Baha'i writings, and it spoke to me, and I'll just read 2 words. It says, "Wish not the abasement of anyone, that thine own abasement be not exposed." And to think that here, if I don't forgive, how can I ask for my own forgiveness? And as Marietta said about Christ on the cross, he says, yeah, help them, or I forget the words, help them, Lord, because they know not what they do. Part of my paraphrasing, sometimes it doesn't come back good. And then she emphasized that and forgiveness and how we are to forgive everyone, and even 70 times. I like that one. And Dee mentioned that in her life, forgiveness was so important because of what she, as a Black person or Black member of the human family, has gone through in her ancestors, that her being able to forgive opened up the door for her. It opened the path that she could follow. And she is very thankful for being able to do that, to be given that capacity, if you will, to forgive. And it gave her life a much fuller experience. That's enough. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Norman. You wrapped that up so very beautifully for us, and, reminded us that forgiveness is also about, the person doing the forgiving, not just the person who committed the act.
Yes.
So moving right along, could we have somebody from Cheryl's group?
Hello. I will go ahead and be the spokesperson for our group. We discussed both topics. I think much of what we talked about as far as forgiveness has already been shared, in that it's really a gift we give ourselves to free us up from that bitterness and hatred that can be so consuming. It can be hard to trust moving forward, and so sometimes you may have to put some, at least in our human frailties, maybe put up some boundaries with the people who have hurt us in the past, just so we don't get hurt again. But it's also important to forgive ourselves in situations. Sometimes that can be one of the hardest things to do. As far as gifts, we were all discussing the gift of the planet. That was foremost on our thoughts. Dale Whitney had a bumper sticker out on his car from Chief Seattle. The planet doesn't belong to us. We belong to planet Earth. And we were just discussing about how we're so sad that we live in such a disposable society that, 50, 60 odd years ago, things were made to be repaired. We were supposed to use things, over and over again. And this convenience that we experience today, it's easy, but it's not healthy. And, we have to appreciate our gift of the earth and the water more. And that's something we all need to do to help heal the planet.
Yes, thank you. What a productive conversation. I really like feeling, grateful for the earth and appreciating the earth as a gift and not ours just to do what we want with. Okay, next, can we hear from Pastor Steve's group?
I think we had a fairly sort of standard Judeo-Christian walk through forgiveness. We heard people express that it's a challenge to forgive and, that they don't forget, and that it's, that's just, it continues to come back and haunt us. We heard sort of some beautiful words about how it kind of releases, being able to forgive people provides a release to restore relationships, and a little bit of that talk around, it being a boundary to moving forward. We heard a little bit of Presbyterians, John Calvin's keys, where one of the keys was about forgiveness, and that was a core part of it. And forgiveness is essential. You can't unwind time, and if you could, then you wouldn't need to be forgiving. You could undo the wrongs, and you can't. So it's, I just close with the phrase that, we need some kind of delete button, or not that it deletes it, but we need some kind of, without forgiveness, you never can move forward. So it's almost just a practical necessity that we have that. And we brought up, the unforgivable, the example was the treatment of the Native Americans and then the treatment of the slaves. And it was just a nice little conversation about it. We didn't get to gifts at all. And there we go.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And yes, I think all of us come from our faith tradition in one way or another when we're discussing these topics. So it's nice to hear that perspective. Sister Tina's group, can we hear from you, please?
Carmen will be speaking for us.
Okay, great.
Okay, I didn't take any notes, but I'll try to remember. We spent most of the time on the first question. We talked a little bit about how forgiveness is important because being angry and bitter hurts the person who's angry and bitter more than it does the person they're angry at. We talked a little bit about the need for reparations for Indigenous people and African Americans because it's the right thing to do, not because we're looking for forgiveness by the perpetrators. Let's see, what else? One of the people talked about, that was about the gift, she said she was doing a mission for her church and was far away when her father died, and she felt that circumstances there somehow prepared her to accept the death of her father and to cope. That was a gift. And then we also said it was a gift. We talked about it being a gift just to get up in the morning and have another day and give thanks for everything. That's about all I can remember.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Love the gratitude part. Okay. Next, we have Carol's group, please.
Okay, and I'm going to report from my group. I'm not going to go over what has already been mentioned in other groups, but a couple of things were mentioned that I haven't heard. And one was that the first step to forgiveness is learning more about the person that harmed you and their story that brought them to whatever it is that they did. Connie mentioned that, which was excellent. And Winnie talked about that you need to separate the act and the action from the person, and that behind each person is a noble soul. And if you can treat someone as though they are a noble soul, even if they have done things that are wrong, it will perhaps help change their behavior, the way they even perceive themselves. Also, that behavior and experience is inherited, and that a study was done on mice that when they smelled a certain smell, then they would be zapped. And so, of course, when they would smell that, they'd be afraid. And their children, their mice babies, were born with that same response to that smell as well. And I think that I don't think I personally understand I can't think of the term, but where generation after generation is suffering from things that happened earlier. I think that understanding that people don't even know why maybe they feel like the way they do because of things that have happened in the past affect them. And we all need to make sacrifices to help people heal.
Wow, such a deep conversation. I really like about, the forgiveness, find out about the other person, walk in that other person's shoes, empathize a little bit. And then also the generation after generation, I think that's kind of, the repetitive behavior that is kind of destructive, to us. I think that's maybe what Chief Ramos was urging us to do when we need to, wake up and stop the cycle. So we have, thank you, Carol. And we have one more group, please. Can we hear from Milia's group?
That's going to be me. Hi, I'm Patricia. And I'm going to try and get through this kind of quickly because I cannot summarize it all into one thing. We had 5 different looks at this and they were all fascinating. One of our people said that it's not a matter of forgiving the people that did the wrong. It's a matter of forgiving the things that you're feeling, forgiving yourself for what you're feeling about those people. This is like maybe a stage along the way that she feels like she's at on something. And then I came at this with kind of what Sarah was saying about how you forgive because it makes you feel better. And a little bit related to that, we had a person say that the people that she has run across in her social justice work, the ones that have really felt deep pain in their lives because of being wronged, but have found a way to forgive, just seem to emanate peace and joy and love. And so that really recommends for going ahead and forgiving. And we had a Jewish person who was talking about those 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement or at one-ment, and the tradition that if somebody wrongs you and they come and apologize 3 times, and it after the 3rd time it becomes you're wrong because you put them in the position of having to apologize so much without responding. So and that works out to, you can understand that in real life how atonement and acknowledgement and forgiveness work. And then we had a Muslim person talking about what Daniel's words were, that you're submitting to that part of you that wants to forgive. And that really resonates for Muslims to be submitting, because that's what it is to be a Muslim, is to submit to, I think she said, the will of God. So I just thought this was a really rich discussion for us to just so many different ways to look at this.
Yes, I agree, Patricia. Thank you for that. And I don't know how you did that beautiful summary, but it was very good. Thank you. Thank you for all the groups for sharing. So yeah, actually, we have some time to invite Sister Tina back, and ask her what she thought about the comments that were just made and the sharing. Do you have something else for us, Sister Tina, please?
Yes, and I thank you. You know, as we I touched on my presentation, but we also talked a little bit in a breakout room, how we come to this realm to learn. And sometimes it's not all pleasant. Sometimes we have those experiences that are unforgivable, but we have to go within and we have to really think about, why are we experiencing this? What are we to learn from it? And if we just hold on to anger, we're at a block. We can't go any further because it will consume us. So we have to release that. And it's not always easy, but as many people said, you do it for yourself. You do it for your growth. You do it so that you can continue your journey without having those restrictions. So it's so important to just reflect and look at the goodness out of it. You know, I will share a little bit about my family history. The unforgivable is to take a child away from their parents. That happened in our family. The mission system, they took my 7 times grandpa and they took him from his family and they took him into the mission system, baptized them with a different name. And he was raised up not knowing his language or his culture or his traditions. And we talk about genetic trauma, and yes, it's a scientific, legitimate thing. But do we want to hold on to that trauma, or do we want to learn and grow from it? We are seeds. We don't have to be just buried and die. We can sprout and we can live our life the way that Creator intended for us to live our lives. So I would just share that. Let us be, you know, forgiving for ourselves, but also for our children, because we can't give love if we don't love ourselves. And we can't forgive if we don't forgive ourselves. So all of those things are something we must do. It's not a choice if we want to be clear-headed, open-hearted, and loving. We do everything that we do for the next 7 generations to come. Those are our teachings. So we have to start in the here and we have to start in the now. If I may, I'd like to share a song with you. It's in the Tongva language. Normally in our prayers, we do a song and I kind of skip that. But because the recurring theme here is gratitude, right? So I would like to share our Mother Earth song. And it just talks about gratitude, about how we're so grateful to our Earth Mother for everything she gives us, the food, the water, the air, everything we need to survive. And all we need to do is be grateful. Aweshkone hai yo yo go. Aweshkone hai yo yo go. Ura mahe kwae pare yo hiken. Yo yo go. Aweshkone ha. Aweshkone ha. Aweshkone hai yo yo go. Aweshkone hai yo yo go. Orura mae kwae pare yo hiken. Yo yo go. Aweshkone ha. So our words, aweshkoneha, is twofold. It means thank you, and it means I'm happy. Because in order to be grateful, we must have peace in our heart. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Sister Tina. Thank you for sharing that very personal suffering of your family with us. And thank you for the song that washes the suffering, cleanses the suffering. Or as Chief Ramos would say, the healing has begun. I really feel like gratitude, is in part a healing. So thank you so much for sharing so much with us today. Oh my gosh. When Sarah Dean and I had the conversation with yourself and with Chief Ramos, I didn't think there was anything more that you could bring to this program, because you brought so much to that conversation, But here today, I was totally wrong. You brought what we discussed in the conversation and more, like 3 times more than that. So I thank you so much. And now I'd like to invite Milia back again with us to wrap us up, please. And then we're going to have the final, whatever Chief Ramos wants to do. I'm not going to label it. Okay, Milia, please.
Thank you, Patty. Sister Tina, that was beautiful. Just touched the soul. Thank you so much. And Chief Ramos, thank you so much. We're so indebted to you for your time and for sharing your wisdom and for sharing your friendship with us. And so we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And all of the participants, thank you so much for being here. In our little group, which I think is a microcosm of the groups that existed, throughout this whole Zoom session. We had a Baha'i, a Muslim, a Christian, a Jewish person. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things. And I think that, we're so honored to do programs like this because we show what can be, right? When people of all different faiths, cultures, traditions and nationalities, races, whatever it is, we all come together. Something that happens, what yields is something that's so beautiful. And I'm just so indebted to all of you for allowing us the opportunity to create this program, for being here with us, to share this program, and to Sister Tina and Chief Ramos for, allowing us to learn what it means to honor the land, to honor the relationships that we have, and really to honor one another. And we're so grateful to you for that. As Patty said, I'm so grateful to Patty and to Sarah for, I got a little text one day saying, hey, we're thinking about this program. And I said, oh, it sounds great. And they ran with it. And so thank you so much, Patty. Thank you so much, Sarah. And of course, none of this is ever possible without Cheryl Benz, who is our office administrator. So we thank you so much, Cheryl, for your continuous, just your heart and how you just being part of our SCIC family, and to all of you for being part of our SCIC family. Thank you so much. And we look forward to the future and seeing more programs like this as we progress. And please know that we're here. If there's any way that we as a council can be of service to you, all you have to do is just reach out to us and know that we're here in whatever capacity that we can be to better serve you. So thank you for that opportunity. It really is an honor. So Patty, back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Milia. Thank you. And now we're back to Chief Ramos. Can we invite you back, Chief, and ask you to close out our program for us? Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was truly a privilege to be present today with SCIC, and especially for Auntie Sister, who brings things that we, in our sharing with one another of the ways of our people, our family. It's an honoring of being able to hear these stories from a granddaughter that's been prayed for so many eons, where she was the one who was chosen to be here by her family at this time in the world. Let me also speak to or give voice to that I share what I share with no intention of offending anybody's faith or their walk, their beliefs, or any things. These are things that in my own personal walk I share that's been given to me to share in the world as I very humbly do this earth walk, that being what it is. And so I apologize. I make an amend if there's anything I can do, if there is anyone that I have offended. I'd be more than happy to do whatever that might need to be in order to listen or pay attention to or learn something new. One of the things as being an elder today and the teachings is that to always know that even as an elder, to stay teachable to all things. And a gift, I have to give voice to also the gift I received today from Auntie's sister Tina, was that in her presentation, she spoke of that place where she says, if you have family that have been buried in the sacred grounds of the people here, then I'm a part of the family that joins in taking care of that land and being responsible for its good health and the family of the land too. My parents are buried in Los Angeles in that land, and without knowing, I was there down at Olvera Street when they were building that museum, and they had unearthed the bones of the ancestral people that she speaks of her family. And I was there protesting and drumming and singing that they needed to be honored. And so there's an innate calling that we're called to come together for one another, to support each other, to love each other, to honor each other. And to do this in a humble way is the walk. I'm still learning. What helps me is to be able to get down on my hands and knees and to crawl into a lodge and pray and say, may I ask for prayer permission for everyone. With that, I will move to praying, making a prayer to close us out. Patty, thank you so much. You've been an absolute delight. And all those that have been present, thank you for giving voice to your hearts. You know, this is not a talking circle. This is a sharing heart circle where we really can give voice to our spirit, our heart. What lives within us has to give voice. And hopefully we start learning each other's songs and even dancing each other's dances. The time is here and the time is now. So with that, I'm going to light some sage. Part of my traditions of things, I've been gifted this red-tailed hawk feather by a good brother who was gifted to him. As he shared with me that Red Cloud only wore one feather, and it was the red tail. He didn't wear eagle feathers. I am of the red-tailed hawk people, Thunderbird clan, and the medicine wheel. But I am a wing spirit and wind spirit, but now I am all the sacred elements as we are. Let's make this prayer. O Great Spirit, Takashala, Yahweh Ashwa, Wankatonka, Hosho Usan, Tawawa. One of many names, great and holy light, great and holy one. Source, love and all, infinite. We come together as a circle of life. We come together as a family from the four directions. We're here to help mend the sacred hoop. We're here to help others, support each other, honor the sacred four elements of life, honor the land and the waters, the sky and the fire, for that is which we are all made from and all part of. And in that oneness, in that love, create within us the ability and capacity to do the extraordinary as ordinary people in this world at this time that needs extraordinary from ordinary people, to create the great healing that needs necessary. And with that, all the beauty that surrounds us, and the abundance of all life, as we are the sacred hoop of all people. Epane, epane, aho, epane, epane, aho, enahe, enahe, aho, emane, emane, aho, oh, yahe, yahe, yaho, yahe, yaho, yahe, yaho, epane, 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 ahe, aho. Oh, Patakiasa. Thank you.
From my relations.
Thank you, Chief Ramos, for that beautiful prayer and for closing out our program today. A special thank you again to Sister Tina, and for, the two of you were actually the ones who put this program together. So as you say, I was just putting together the structure of it. So again, we really thank you for sharing with us your hearts, your love, your teachings, your prayers, your songs, and oh my gosh, your poetry. I'm just so full tonight. Thank you again. Thank you everyone for coming today. Yes, let's all give everyone, let's give Chief Ramos and Sister Tina a round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Humble thanks.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you everyone so much. And Sister Tina and Chief Daniel, as we mentioned before, let this be just one pearl on the string of our relationship and relationship building. So hopefully we can continue to gather and learn from one another. Thank you both so much. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Look forward to our future programs, please. We'd love to have you.
There's a few hours left of the weekend still. Woohoo!
Yes, it is.
I recommend everybody buying 7th generation dishwater detergent at Ralph's. Use all the time. It's wonderful stuff.
It is. We use it at home here.
Save the earth, right, Dale?
Yeah, maybe we could all go out and plant a tree and put what we need to forgive into the ground and put a tree. And with all the burning in California, we certainly could use it.
Yeah.
And let it be a legacy to the new world and the forgiveness and the healing.
Amen.
Okay, that would be a good.
Pavunga still exists just west of Cal State Long Beach, and we're still fighting to keep it. They keep wanting to build buildings over it, develop it.
Thank you. Thank you for standing with us.
Protect Pavunga. You know what I'm talking about, sister.
Is there a website about that?
It's on the lands of Cal State University Long Beach.
Yeah.
So you could always voice your opinion to the administration and let them know how important it is to keep our sacred site intact.
Okay.
Tina, can we get a copy of your poem?
I'm sorry?
Can we get a copy of your poem?
Yes, certainly. It was recorded here, so they're welcome to share it with you. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that would be
Thank
nice.
you.
Thank you very much.
Patricia, should we connect you with Sister Tina, and maybe the Interfaith Council can take more of a role in advocating for the sacred land in Long Beach?
That'd be great. Yeah,
okay.
I would like to get involved in supporting somehow.
Yeah. Is there something tangible we can do?
Well, right now we are fighting it. The Ahashiman have created a lawsuit. So we're, as the Tongva are unable to speak to administration right now because it now has to go lawyer to lawyer.
Oh.
So we're limited on what we can do physically. And also because of COVID, we're not supposed to gather there. However, we still do with the precautions. So right now it's just writing letters and giving the support in that way. But once we're able to gather on the land again, we can keep you posted.
And I've been trying to get a closer link between the Interfaith Council and the Long Beach Peace Network. And the Long Beach Peace Network has always been involved with preserving Pabungna.
Mm.
And we know each other because of an Armistice Day event that we did just last Wednesday together.
Mhm. Mhm.
Good to know.
All right.
Oh yeah, I had this, you know how sometimes a thought like itches you inside your head, you just got to get it out the whole time. And because as facilitators, we weren't, I was trying to hold back, but I was thinking about in the Quran, whenever God talks about when somebody has wronged you, there'll always first be an acknowledgement that you've been wrong. Like you have a right to acknowledgement that you've been wronged or hurt in some way. And that you have, you first do have some right to restitution, but that forgiveness is better. And then the sentence, it's like in, I don't know how many dozens of times after it says, but forgiveness is better, it says, for God is the most forgiving.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. So in my mind, when I know Sister Tina was using reciprocity in one way, I was actually centering like myself, like if I'm thinking about my own self and I'm hanging on to something, when I'm putting it together with that Quranic passage, I'm picturing the letting go of something so that I can then fully engage with my spirit and receive forgiveness myself somewhere else. I don't know.
We were just Patricia. That was what I was saying. What Patricia had said, because it says, you're right. Like in the Quran, and it talks about how if God can forgive, right, and God being within the Islamic faith and really within other faith traditions, one of the attributes of God being is the one who forgives, right? In Arabic, it's Al-Ghafur, but the one who forgives. And the thought is such that if God can forgive you, then who are you not to be able to forgive your other mankind, right? How that's kind of that give and take type of a thing. So yeah, exactly. And it's interesting. Someone had said about 70 times, and I don't know if it was you that mentioned that, but within faith traditions, numerology plays a huge part. And certainly within Islamic tradition, the 70 is something that's really central. And in regards to forgiveness, it also says that, the Prophet Muhammad, every day, he would ask for forgiveness at least 70 times, right? And so how that notion of forgiveness is so central to the faith.
And Jesus's comment on that was forgive not just 70, but 70 times 7. That's almost infinite. And then I want to say one more thing about a book by Nikos Kazantzakis, The Last Temptation of Christ. Presumably he was Greek Orthodox. There's this scene where the little miserable sinner comes to poor St. Peter, and he's just abject. And he just wants to confess all his sins. And he starts down his long list. And God comes along and says, stop, I've had enough. And he whips out this big sponge and he just wipes out all of the sins of the little miserable sinner and lets him into heaven. It's in the Last Temptation of Christ. And it's wonderful.
All right.
In case you hadn't noticed.
I feel like nobody wants to get off, and it's like, okay, who has that master switch of pressing leave that will like cancel everyone? It's kind of like, okay, should we? But I do want to honor everyone's time, and I know for many it might be close to dinner time as well. So we definitely will be in touch, and I hope that we can all, reunite again very soon. So I think, I don't know, Cheryl, again, I go to Cheryl. If I press leave, is it me or? I know one of us has that.
Patty's the host.
I have to do it. I have to end it all.
Patty,
Yes.
Patty,
like,
Patty, I'm not sure if the recording is going to be going to your PC or mine. So if it starts saying it's converting the recording, don't cancel it. Make sure it completes.
Got it. Thank you, Cheryl.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank
Thank
so
you
much,
again,
Sharon. Have a
everyone.
good night.
Yes.
Have a good
Sister
night.
Tina, I'm
Bye.
thinking of,
We'll be
being
back.
one of those strands in the braiding that you were
Yes.
talking about. So,
Absolutely. So beautiful.
and you too, Daniel.
Staying gratitude.
Be well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you, everybody.
we're all sailors, shipmates on planet Ocean.
Yeah,
That's
gratitude.
I want to go for that trip.
Yeah,
Just the planet of oceans.
I'll be there.
My father was
Bye.
the captain